Eric. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time, end times, and the dividing of times. Reading from Last Day Events, excerpt from the Spirit of Prophecy. The Sunday Law movement in the 1880s. We have been looking for many years for a Sunday law to be enacted in our land. And now that the movement is right upon us, we ask, what are our people going to do in the matter? We should especially seek God for grace and power to be given his people now. God lives, and we do not believe that the time has fully come when he would have our liberties restricted. The prophet saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Another angel ascending from the east cried to them, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. This points out the work we now have to do, which is to cry to God for the angels to hold the 4 winds until missionaries shall be sent to all parts of the world and shall have proclaimed a warning against disobeying the law of Jehovah. Welcome to 144,000 Teachers, the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. In the menu, the last great conflict, worship time. Looking again at the Dies Domini, this time it's trial number 2 from Sabbath to Sunday. And again, Dies Domini, the Lord's Day, which was written by John Paul II in 1998. The book, The Two Republics, or Rome and the United States of America, is a very, very beautiful book to refer to even at this time of Earth history, because it is amazing how it reveals more than ever what is unfolding before us. It was actually published by A.T. Jones in 1891, which was actually 3 years after the Sunday law was presented in the United States of America to Senator Blair in the Senate. And it was actually defeated by A.T. Jones. And we believe with all our heart that the Lord had prepared him in advance, and he was able to stand and to present the rebuttal that needed to be presented in order to basically postpone the time, because God's people were not ready. God's people had refused the beautiful truth of 1888 based on the biblical calendar. And we believe with all our heart this is true because of this very book here that was written, we are sure, during the years of 1888 era, because in those days to publish a book of this magnitude, it's over 500 pages in the original book. And so it did take time. And this was not written like today with computers. It was written first by hand and then by typewriters and then published. Rome, in its different phases, occupies the largest place of any national name in history. Rome, considered with reference to government, is interesting and important. Considered with reference to religion, it is yet more interesting and more important. But when considered with reference to the interrelationship of government and religion, it is most interesting and most important. It is Rome in this last phase that is the principal subject of study in this book. As in this particular, Rome occupies one extreme and the United States of America the other. The latter is considered also, though the plan and limit of the book has made it necessary to give less space to this than the subject deserves, talking about the United States. This will be mainly about Rome, but it's so close to the history of the United States. The principle of Rome in all its phases is that religion and government are inseparable. The principle of the government of the United States is that religion is essentially distinct and totally separate from civil government and entirely exempt from its cognizance. The principle of Rome is the abject slavery of the mind. The principle of the United States of America is the absolute freedom of the mind. As it was Christianity that first was always antagonized this governmental principle of Rome and established the governmental principle of the United States of America, the fundamental idea, the one thread thought of the whole book is to develop the principles of Christianity with reference to civil government and to portray the mischievous results of the least departure from those principles. And if you take the time to read this very, very long essay, more than 500 pages in the original, you will see that it meets its purpose. It definitely demonstrates that Christianity antagonized the principle of Rome. And it did help to establish the principle of the United States of America based on freedom of speech, freedom of religion, most of all, separation of church and state, which most people do not understand today, even in America. As we continue with our study of the Dies Domini, which we have presented as being the apostolic letter written by John Paul II in 1998 and taken from the website of the Vatican, we will continue to present more of these articles, as we have chosen to call them, and that we have edited in order to demonstrate the falsehood of this apostolic letter, which is aimed, as we go along, we will show it to you, it is aimed in establishing a Sunday law. Not only the national Sunday law in America, but international. Now, we left the last study with we did Article 1 and 2. Now we will want to do Article 3 and showing again the method. For you, it may be, some of you already may have looked at it and you may think it's redundant. It seems to be always the same thing. No, you will find throughout those 87 articles, each time there is a new thought added, which of course is to set up Sunday and Easter as the main principal object of observance. And this we need to define. Article 3, the warning is Sunday and Easter is meant to replace the Lord's Day and the feast, the 7th-day Sabbath of creation, and particularly in this one, Passover. It reads, the fundamental importance of Sunday has been recognized through 2,000 years of history and was emphatically restated by the Second Vatican Council. Every 7th day, the Church celebrates the Easter mystery. Remember, this mystery is not the mystery of godliness. It's the mystery of iniquity, of paganism. This is a tradition going back to the apostle, taking its origin from the actual day of Christ's resurrection, a day thus appropriately designated the Lord's Day. Paul VI emphasized this importance once more when he approves the new general Roman calendar and the universal norms which regulate the ordering of the liturgical years. And here, when you do not understand how it is written, we preserve all these. These are the references where you will find, you have to scroll at the very end of the manuscript, but you will find where these references comes from. We continue. The coming of the third millennium, which calls believers to reflect upon the course of history in the light of Christ. Remember, this was written in 1998, and the Pope declared 2000 as the Jubilee year and the millennium, which was falsehood as well. The coming of the third millennium, which calls believers to reflect upon the course of the history in the light of Christ, also invites them to rediscover with new intensity the meaning of Sunday, its mystery, its celebration, its significance for Christian and human life. And as we continue to study, we will see, especially in the book, The Two Republics, this will be carried on in order to do the 9th trial that we are preparing. And it will be based on history and where all these falsehoods are coming from. Of course, it comes directly from paganism. Again, here is reiterated. I see this letter as continuing the lively exchange, which I'm always happy to have with the faithful. This is the Pope, John Paul II, speaking. As I reflect with you on the meaning of Sunday and underline the reasons for living Sunday as truly the Lord's Day, also in the changing circumstances of our own time. So this is not far away, 1998. And yet you can see again the Lord's Day, which is Dies Domini in Latin, where Constantine preferred to call it the Day of the Sun, which Sunday, that's what it means. Sunday, again, our rebuttal number 3 against this particular article. Sunday was never observed by the apostles after Christ's resurrection and ascension to heaven. Sunday observance in Christianity was imposed by the Roman Emperor Constantine through his Sunday law edict in 321 AD and enforced in 325 AD, more than 200 years after the death of the last apostle, which was John. The apostles never replaced the 7-day Sabbath for Sunday in remembrance of the resurrection. Christ's resurrection did not replace the 7-day Sabbath. Christ's resurrection did not occur on a Sunday. The biblical feast days, holy convocations of Leviticus chapter 23 and Numbers chapter 28 and 29 make no mention of Sunday replacing the 7-day Sabbath of the biblical calendar. Again, evidence. The rebuttal without evidence would have no value. So we have evidence here to show, again, that thus said the Lord, Matthew 26:1, Mark chapter 14, verse 1, Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, and John chapter 20, verse 1. And we encourage you to read these because you could see that even Matthew 28, verse 1, and also chapter 20 of John, verse 1, it says very emphatically that at the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. So the end of the Sabbath during the biblical week of the crucifixion would have been the feast of unleavened bread, changing, which was the 15th of the first month, the biblical month, changing at sunset for the 16 of the first month, the first fruits. The Feast of First Fruit was not celebrated as a Sabbath, and you can do secular work on first fruit, and yet it's the resurrection of Christ. He rested in the tomb on the Sabbath day, and it now came out of the tomb alive to finish his work on the earth and start his work in the holy place in heaven, in the heavenly sanctuary, after his ascension. The first day of the week, according to John 20, verse 1, cometh Mary Magdalene early when it was yet dark. So it was still night when Christ resurrected because the tomb was empty when she found it. So here we go. We have unto the sepulchre and see the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Again, you will find people that tell you about all kind of time of calculating the day. And this is a very important evidence that Christ was already resurrected and it was dark when Mary Magdalene came to the tomb. And John, if you remember your Bible, John was a witness at the tomb with Peter. Matthew was not there, Mark was not there, John was there. Not that these two do not report properly, but again, the gospel is from the author who presents it. And John was an eyewitness. When he came to the tomb, Mary Magdalene said that he came to the tomb and it was yet dark and the tomb was empty. So Christ had resurrected from the end of the Sabbath of the 15th of the first month, changing to the 16th at sunset. So he resurrected between that particular time to the time that Mary Magdalene came first and John and Peter came as well. Evidence B, you can continue again with the biblical calendar, of course. We always want to present it, but we have also done quite a bit of studies with Desire of Ages, and then, of course, establishing again using USNO. When was Christ's resurrection and what year? We can demonstrate that. It's possible to establish it. There is also a very important decree we encourage you to study. It's the fourth decree, where we have the wheel within the wheel, restoring the full calendar worship from the 7-day Sabbath to the yearly Sabbath, the yearly feast, and then we enter into the sabbatical year and the Jubilee, which historically can be established when the sabbatical year and the Jubilee year are taking place now in our time. And as always, we encourage you to go to the two republics and study those important chapters. Though it seems redundant, until we are established, we need to repeat and repeat and repeat, but new concepts are being added to this study. It's actually, it could be a blessing in disguise. There is nothing that Satan fears the most that we should know is devices. Well, this is his devices. And this is what we're learning, how to counteract and to bring rebuttal against this falsehood. And of course, this is the beautiful biblical calendar for this year of the Holy Convocation. And again, Article 4, we proceed the same way, giving you a warning. This is, again, insisting on how Sunday is holy. And this is to destroy the creator power, to allow or to honor as holy the 7-day Sabbath of creation, according to Exodus chapter 20, verse 11. Again, this is the same, but it is not. Here is exactly what has been declared by the papacy. Until quite recently, it was easier in traditionally Christian countries to keep Sunday holy because it was an almost universal practice. And here John Paul II cries out because Sunday now has lost a lot of its power on many, many Catholic countries and Protestant countries. And it's good. We're happy because the people then are more open to see the true calendar, as we have been presenting millions and millions of calendar, close to 30 million now this past year alone. The rebuttal number 4, as we follow the article, we call the rebuttal according to that number, would be that Sunday was never holy and it is not a holy day. Observing Sunday does not show that we are docile to the Holy Spirit. This was declared in that article, and we definitely want to encourage you to read it, where it is declared here that to live it in complete docility to the Holy Spirit. Sunday is a pagan belief introduced by the Roman Catholic Church 1700 years ago. That will be in 2025, 1700 years since the Catholic Church, after Constantine, impressed by the Bishop of Rome to enact a law keeping Sunday holy. Now we have the Roman Catholic Church in 325 AD, with the help of the Roman government, not only enacted, but actually basically enforced that Sunday law upon as many people as they could. At the time, Rome was still the Roman Empire, going from the pagan Roman Empire, how it was called, to the Holy Roman Empire under the Roman Catholic Church in 538 AD, when it was established that way. Again, the evidence that we have chosen, again, from Thus said the Lord, Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 to 3, and Exodus chapter 20, where the Lord declared himself in his commandment that he made it holy. This is his day, the holy Sabbath day, to keep it holy. And this is very important. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. And there we see that in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the 7th day and allowed it. Very important. Another evidence, the last one for this article, it can be demonstrated again biblically, astronomically, chronologically, historically, that the 7th day Sabbath can only be ascertained with the luni solar, barley harvest, new moon, horn crescent reckoning, which we present in our study, along with this particular trial. So when you come to the trial, you should be even more prepared because we're giving you lots of material maybe, but there is no time anymore to only teach the precious truth. This we do, but we need to go on with the present truth of the gospel, the present truth of the most holy place. And this is closing this particular section as we finish the trial number 2. And may the Lord bless you as you study and prepare diligently to give an answer to those who ask the reason of the faith that is in you with fear and trembling. May the Lord bless you.